Hello, and welcome to episode number 19 of the Holistic Lifestyle Guide podcast. This episode is going to be called 7 Reasons Why Camping is Healthy. I'm at the time of recording, we are in September, so camping season is almost done. However, if you live in any part of the world that does not get winter, then you can benefit from this episode anytime. For the rest of us, though, we might need to remember these tips for next year or even, enjoy what's left of 2021. So there's a couple weeks left in September at the time of recording this. And then there's October. October can be a great month for camping, especially for people that are naturally warm people that love the cool, brisk air. And of course, there's always the benefit of seeing the beautiful fall colors in October. That's a great time to go camping. So, I'm going to talk now about why camping is healthy. You might not have ever thought of this before, other than the fact that you just enjoy camping. But camping is one of the most popular and beloved summer activities, and most people aren't aware that it's actually really good for your health. So, I'm going to talk about 7 ways that camping is healthy. So, the first one, this one's probably the most one that people know, is that you will get lots of vitamin D. As you probably know, it's better to get your vitamin D directly from the sun rather than supplements. Supplements work, but the sun also brings along with it a strong connection to nature. The sun is our life giving center of the universe. And feeling its warmth on your body as it nourishes you with vitamin D is an amazing feeling that everyone should enjoy regularly. So I talk about this as far as your something that you should do every morning. Every day you should at least get outside for 15 to 20 minutes. But when you're camping, it's so much easier to do that. Now, remember, if you're prone to sunburns, use sunscreen, but it is okay to get 20 minutes a day directly on your bare skin. And that's in order to get the required exposure so that your skin can process that and create vitamin D. So, like I said, this is something that you can get from supplements if you have to. And a lot of people in the Northern Hemisphere have to do that. But it's so much better to get it from the sun. So, another thing that camping is healthy for is it is a good circadian rhythm reset. And I have personal experience with this because I have a circadian rhythm disorder where my circadian rhythm is delayed by a couple of hours at least. And this is called delayed sleep phase syndrome. So, this is something that not too many people know about. But basically, when people that have this try to go to bed at a normal time, like 9, 10 p.m., they just can't fall asleep. And this is not just insomnia, this is their how they are. And then they usually fall asleep after midnight or sometimes even as late as 5, 6 in the morning. And then that also makes it so that these people cannot get up early. So I struggled with this my entire life. I remember being in school and my mom had to literally carry me out of my bed and onto the couch, and she dressed me because I couldn't wake up. I fell asleep on the bus on the way to school. I couldn't focus on my early day classes. I didn't wake up until around noon. So I mean, technically I was awake, but I wasn't fully alert and I couldn't learn. I struggled in school. After I graduated, I always got jobs working the afternoon shift or the overnight shift. And I lived like that for about 45 years. And then a couple years ago, I learned a couple tricks that you can do to make yourself more in line with the circadian rhythm. So, in my particular case, though, it was something that I couldn't, you can't heal this, you can't cure it. It's just always there, but you can manage it. So, what I did was I did all these things. I did all these things that are supposed to be good for they are good for your sleep, but I got the most benefit when I went camping. And I started camping a couple years ago regularly, and I do this once or twice a month now all summer. And I noticed that when I go camping, even in a camper, I don't sleep in a tent. I have a camper, but I still you're out in nature, you're getting the sunlight in the real way you're supposed to get it. You're sitting around a campfire at night. These things in combination all together help to reset your circadian rhythm, and it only takes a couple days. And I came home so exhausted. I was getting up at 9 a.m., going to bed around midnight or 1, and I was still exhausted when I got home because it was such a shock to my system from what I'm used to. So that I was so tired that first night I came home from camping and I was able to go to bed at like a 10 or 11, which is something that I've never done before. So I was able to reset my rhythm. And then I woke up at 6 a.m. and I was alert. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I should get up because this is healthy to get up at this time. And I had enough sleep, but I just decided to go back to sleep. And then once I woke up again, and a couple hours later, I felt worse. And this has to do with the Ayurveda times of the day. So this is a whole separate subject. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but Ayurveda is a science of life. It's a system of health that is basically, the way that you should live according to nature for your body, mind, and your soul to all be aligned. And that's what I stand for. That's everything I talk about. So there are times of the day that are conducive to sleeping. And the time of the day between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., I believe. Don't quote me on that, but that is somewhere near the vicinity of the time where your body is it's going to fight you if you want to, it's hard to explain. I'm probably going off on a tangent here, so I'll just end it there. But basically, in the morning is when you should wake up with the sun. If you sleep any later than that, you're going to make your body more tired than it should be, and then you'll end up feeling worse all day. So when you go camping, and it's natural to wake up in the morning when the sun comes up, and then, winding down every night with a campfire, all of those things, they will help your body to gradually get used to the correct rhythm if you can stay on that rhythm. Now, of course, people like me that have this disorder, we can't just go camping every day. And when we're home, we slide back into our normal routine. So it takes a lot of work, and it's usually a lot easier in the wintertime when the sun goes down early. But if it is summer and you're having trouble waking up early, just go camping for a few days and that ought to take care of it. Now, they say 5 days is what it takes, but sometimes it can be quicker, as it was with me. All right, so I'm going to move on now. Sorry if I went a little off a tangent there, but that's a subject that I talk a lot about, and I think it's very crucial to understand. So there's another healthy thing about camping, and that is water activities. Whether you are camped by a lake or an ocean or even just a pool, most of us are more apt to do some kind of water activity when we are camping. Water is just fun. It's fun to frolic in. It's fun to float on. It's fun to watch a sunset, sitting by water watching a sunset. And bonus points if you have a sandy beach to, walk around on, because this feels amazing, but it's also very grounding, and it helps you to absorb the negative ions from the earth. And so they help you to be healthier. I've got an article on that as well, how to do earthing or grounding. So if you can do that when you're near water, that's even better. So I will leave a link down below to an article I wrote about grounding and earthing. And so anytime you're near water, it's always good to stand barefoot in it on the earth as long as you can. And just being in water is healing in itself. So then the next one is community. The camping community is kind of known for being a helpful, friendly group of people. You're bonding over your love of nature and your love of recreational activities, and this is good for your mental health. I'm in a lot of camping groups on Facebook, and the people it's like I said, you just bond over this stuff because there are people that get it and people that don't, and the people that get it, they love to be around each other. There's even people that they meet because of their love of nature and camping. And it's a great way to meet people. It really is. You can go by yourself and make friends just that way. So that's a great way to enjoy community. And of course, that's also good for the children as well. There's a campground in particular that I'm thinking of as I say this, that it's well known for being so popular that they book up a year in advance, and the kids are just, it's like a little city that the kids are all friends with each other, and they all just, run around and play together while the adults do their adult type camping things, and the kids, they watch out for each other and they played in groups. And so that's a great community to raise a child in. I would say that if I had kids and I had the money, I would definitely live full time in an RV, and I would travel from, campground to campground, or even stay seasonally in a campground. It's the best community for children because they are learning to get along with other kids. They are learning nature. They are learning, they're exploring different people, different communities, different states, different locations. It's just great all around for children and adults. So the next one on my list here for 7 reasons why camping is healthy is nature, and that one word says it all. What can you say really more about that? It's just being in nature by itself. You can't always do it when you live at home, or when you live in a house where, you might be in an apartment, you might be living with a bunch of people, you might be really busy, you might not live near a lot of greenery. So it's very good to get out into nature as much as possible, and camping is a great way to do this, whether or not it's in a national park forest, or even a dry Arizona desert, or a busy family campground. One thing is certain, is that you're still in nature, and it's healing no matter what form it takes. So the next one on my list is stargazing. So stargazing is one of those things that you can do when you're camping more than any other time, because campgrounds tend to be in areas where there's not a whole lot of light pollution. And looking up at the stars at night is something that we rarely get a chance to do in our busy lives. Like, who thinks about it? When you're going to work, you're making dinner, you're doing all your daily chores. But when you're camping, it's almost a guarantee, as long as you don't have cloud cover. This is such a great way to feel connected to the universe. And I really experienced this last weekend when I was camping. Probably just because it's fresh in my mind is why I'm talking about it. But it was, just, after the night was done and I was walking back to my camper, and the moon was lighting up everything, but you could still see the brightest stars, especially Jupiter. Jupiter's almost always one of the brightest stars that you see, brightest planets, I should say. But it's one of the most brightest objects in the sky, and it is so peaceful. When campgrounds usually have that, after 10 p.m., it's quiet time. So there's not going to be any loud noises. All you hear is the crickets, or birds, or maybe even like the coyotes in the background in the distance. And the stars are just there. And it's just such a great way to feel connected to the universe. I just love it so much. It's one of my favorite things about camping, because where I live, it's not always easy because of the tree cover, because of the light pollution, being close to a city. So if you can, try to find a campground in the country, or, someplace that doesn't have a lot of trees, doesn't have a lot of lights. They usually don't have a lot of lights anyway. And so it's pretty easy to find a campground that is, in the middle of nowhere, especially when it comes to a national forest or a state park. I highly recommend state parks. They're one of my favorite places to go camping in, because the sites are a little more spread out. There's more space, there's more nature, there's trails. And it's usually in an area where there's not a lot of overhead lights, so you will be able to stargaze much easier. So the last one on my list is simple living. So there is a reason why many retirees sell their homes and live in their campers full time. And this is something I just mentioned that I would love to do. It's a simple life with less possessions and more experiences. This is something that we should all strive for. You can even camp full time year round if you work from a computer. There's this thing called work camping, where you work at a campground in exchange for a free site. And so that's something that I'm actually going to do that eventually. It's just that I live in Minnesota, where it's a little hard. It's actually possible to camp in the wintertime here. So there's only maybe 5 or 6 months of the year where we can go camping, but someday that's my goal, is to do work camping. So that is my 7 reasons why camping is healthy. So next time you are camping, try to be aware of these ways that you are improving your health and plan more camping trips if possible, because more experiences beat more things any day of the week. So, thank you so much for listening. And if you know anybody that is a camper, you can send this podcast to them and they'll probably get a lot of benefit out of it as well. And thank you so much for listening.